Killmonger versus the Vodu-Khan. Black Panther has deputized Erik Killmonger in his absence, but T'Challa's mysterious advisors, the Voodoo-Khan, do not trust this interloper. Plus, Queen Okoye reveals truths behind her marriage and her mission in Ultimate Black Panther Volume 1, Issue 17. A diabolical genius known as the Maker created his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero. To rule his perfected Earth, he placed supervillains in charge of different regions, and together the Maker's Council quietly orchestrated the history of the world. King T'Challa of the highly advanced, isolated Wakanda thought he triumphed over the evils of the Maker's Council, but Ryan Khonshu, the overseers of the African continent, had unlocked a larger, more dangerous power by activating Vibranium, the element upon which Wakanda was built. After T'Challa defeated Ryan Khonshu, he and the Sorcerer Supreme, Enon, accidentally unleashed an angry spirit with Vibranium. While Black Panther and Storm investigated the spirit, King T'Challa left Killmonger and Queen Okoye to oversee Wakanda. Erik Killmonger walks down a corridor lined with various Black Panther suits. He looks at them, then tries on a helmet from one of the Black Panthers. Queen Okoye says, "How does it feel?" Queen Okoye then says, "I could make a joke about the weight of the crown, but I'm not sure I've ever seen you laugh." Erik Killmonger says, "I'll take it off. I didn't mean to disrespect." Queen Okoye surprisingly says, "Don't answer the question. How does it feel?" Killmonger says, "Tactically, my peripheral vision is worse, and I think if I kept it on for an hour, it would irritate the bridge of my nose." Queen Okoye then says, "It doesn't suit you to hide behind a mask. You're too direct for that." Killmonger then says, "That sounds like someone who's a little frustrated with the Black Panther after all." Queen Okoye responds, "Someone who's frustrated with tradition itself, someone raised in it and had her choices taken because of it, someone who has spent her life serving it. You've been free your whole life. I would like to know what that is like." Killmonger says, "You've been safe for your whole life. So even when I told you, Okoye, I don't think you could understand." Suddenly there's an alert. The alert is triggered by the Machine Men. They are a paramilitary group using transhumanistic black market technology. Most of the time they're in Eastern Europe conducting smash and grab operations to steal rare earth minerals, but now they're in Africa. They've just taken control of an American mining operation 15 miles from here. Normally, Okoye says I would leave the Americans to settle their own issues, but as I said, they're in Africa and they're holding the workers hostage, forcing them to mine for them. The Queen asks for Erik's thoughts. Erik Killmonger says the Americans will send their forces, but the people working there are innocent and they don't have time. It sounds like they could use our help. Shuri adds, "We're not operating at 100%. T'Challa warned us about vibranium, so we're reducing its use, running the kingdom on reserve power. Wakanda has less of an advantage without vibranium." Killmonger says, "Then we fight without the toys. I never had them. I don't miss them." Queen Okoye says, "The Dora Milaje are up for this. Some traditions are better than others." Erik, "Shall we go tonight?" Erik Killmonger says, "Definitely." Wakanda takes the fight to the Machine Men, and the attack is efficient and fast, but they are limited in weapons. As Okoye searches for the innocents, she moves alone, faster and far more quietly. Queen Okoye goes in and quickly takes out the guards to find the hostages. Queen Okoye says, "You're going to be all right." As soon as Queen Okoye secures the hostages, Erik Killmonger leads the Dora Milaje in a bloodbath. Erik Killmonger goes on a rampage, slashing through the Machine Men. The Dora Milaje take out all the Machine Men around the center of the battlefield. The Machine Men are defeated as Killmonger raises his axe and the Dora Milaje cheer. Queen Okoye looks at Erik Killmonger and asks, "Erik, what do you want for the upper and lower kingdoms? What do you want for Wakanda?" T'Challa's more of a thinker, more strategic with spies and considers every consequence before taking action. He thinks through every aspect. Erik Killmonger, on the other hand, is more like, "Let's just do it." Erik Killmonger says, "I don't have the right to have a vision for your nation, Okoye. I'm here because T'Challa asked me to help you, because he helped me. Queen Okoye says, but you have a vision, Erik, more than just fighting in the fields with Aurora. Killmonger says, Wakanda can strengthen this whole continent. T'Challa will solve the problems of Vibranium. My fear is that the walls will go back up. You thrive, but the world around you never receives your strengths. Queen Okoye says, and you would lead Wakanda to lead Africa. Killmonger says, I would spread Wakanda from shoreline to shoreline. Queen Okoye says, there is very little fear in you, is there? Killmonger says, I smother it with my anger. Queen Okoye replies, what would you say if I told you I thought you should lead us? Killmonger questions, what? Clearly not understanding. Queen Okoye says, what if I told you that I share your vision, as she moves in closer to kiss Killmonger and adds, I want what you want. Suddenly they are interrupted by Matron Imala and the Vodu-Khan. Matron Imala says, what you want is irrelevant. Matron says, all that matters is what must be. Queen Okoye screams, Matron Imala, why are the Vodu-Khan here? Matron Imala says, to serve the will of the progenitors, the will of Vibranium, and the will of prophecy. As their eyes glows with dark vibranium, Erik Killmonger says, Okoye, get behind me. Queen Okoye says, Imala, this is treason. Imala Khan says, this is necessary. As he sends dark vibranium blasting both Erik Killmonger and Queen Okoye, Imala Khan says the child of light will have his path. None will stand against us. Matron Imala says, the Vodu-Khan have waited for generations for this moment as Queen Okoye burns in pain. Imala continues, we have always known the true power of vibranium, and the child of light will be the master, but you cannot bear my queen. The prophecy says the woman of the light will give birth to the child of the light, who will we know will eventually be Storm. So Matron Imala and the Vodu-Khan will do whatever they can to ensure that happens. Matron Imala is sending, electrocuting torque vibranium through Queen Okoye as Killmonger is surrounded by the Vodu-Khan. Queen Okoye screams out and Killmonger rushes to save her. Matron Imala says, who do you think killed T'Challa's father, empowered Khonshu, and moved you all towards destiny? The truth, Okoye. Let me fill you with it. Just then, Enon comes crashing to the window. She has been hibernating for months, and she says firmly, hold on. Enon, the sorcerer, comes crashing to the ground and throws the Vodu-Khan back. Then she opens a portal. As Matron Imala says, the prophecy cannot be stopped, but Enon, the sorcerer, is weakened and not at full strength. As she drops to the floor, she says, I saw in a meditation what they would do to you. All the Vodu-Khan has been transported away. Then Queen Okoye, thankful for being saved by Enon, tries to wake her up. Then she asks Erik, what is happening? What do we do? Erik Killmonger says, we accept that Wakanda is falling, and we refuse to let that happen. Bring Shuri, our spies, and those you trust. Use your voice, Queen Okoye, and tell them they have a new king. Killmonger, Erik Killmonger, has taken the throne of Wakanda. Next, Ultimate Black Panther, Volume 1, Issue 18.